Most people accept aging as something that happens to them. They feel the stiffness in the morning and they say, that is just age. They slow down on the stairs and they say that is just age. They stop getting on the floor and they say that is just age. And every time they say that, they give something away. Something they could have kept. Something they could still take back right now. My name is Dr. David Mercer. I've spent 27 years studying aging patterns in over 8,500 patients between the ages of 65 and 95. And in that time, I have watched two completely different kinds of people move through their 70s. The first kind accepts every physical change as inevitable. They adapt around it, compensate for it, stop doing the things that expose it. And 5 years later, they look 10 years older than they are. The second kind does something different. They test themselves. They find what is slipping, and they work on it. And 5 years later, they move, look, and feel like they are aging in the wrong direction, not slower, backwards. There are 5 specific physical abilities that I use to identify which category a person is in the moment they walk into my office. Not lab work, not imaging. 5 functional tests that tell me more about where someone will be at 80 and 85 than any number on a chart. If your body can still do these 5 things, you are not just aging well. You are aging backwards. And if you cannot do 1 or 2 of them yet, I am going to show you exactly how to get them back. A man named Dennis came to see me 8 months ago. He was 72. His wife had been after him for 2 years to come in for a full evaluation. He finally relented and came. He sat across from me, crossed his arms, and said, "Doctor, I feel perfectly fine. I exercise regularly. I watch what I eat. I really do not know what she is so worried about." I told him we were going to run 5 tests and find out together. He passed 2 of the 5. He sat in my office afterward, looking at the floor for a long time. Then he said, "My father was in a wheelchair at 74. I always told myself I would be different. I told him he still could be, but not by feeling fine, by knowing exactly where he stood and doing something about it." Subscribe right now. What I'm about to show you will change how you think about your body for the rest of your life. Ability number 1. You can lower yourself to the floor, sit cross-legged, and stand back up without using your hands at any point. This is not a yoga pose. This is not a flexibility test. This is the single most complete measure of functional physical youth that exists in a movement your body was designed to perform. The ability to transition from standing to the floor and back again without using your hands requires the simultaneous integration of hip mobility, ankle flexibility, knee stability, core control, and lower body power. It is every system working together. When one system starts failing, this movement is the first to expose it. And most people over 70 have not attempted it in years, which means they have no idea how much of it they have already lost. Let me tell you what is actually happening inside your body when you try this. As you lower to the floor, your hip flexors must have enough length to allow the pelvis to tilt correctly. Your ankle joints must be mobile enough to allow your shins to come forward. Your quadriceps must decelerate your body weight under control the entire way down. Coming back up, your glutes must generate enough force to drive the hips upward from a deep position. Your core must stay braced throughout, so the spine does not collapse under load. This is not a simple movement. It is a full audit of your body's physical age. And the number your body gives back on that audit is often very different from the number on your birth certificate. Pauline was 71, former dancer, still graceful in her movement, still active. She came to me after her daughter had called expressing concern. "Mom moves like she is older than she is." I asked Pauline to lower herself to the floor and sit cross-legged. She got down using one hand on the wall. To stand back up, she needed both hands on the floor, came to her knees, then placed a hand on the exam table. She looked at me after and said, "I used to do this without thinking about it. Doctor, when did that stop?" I told her I did not know when it had stopped, but I knew we were going to start it again. A study from the University of São Paulo followed 2,100 adults aged 68 to 83 for 12 years. Those who could lower to the floor and return to standing without any hand support had 68% lower all-cause mortality over the study period compared to those who needed 2 or more support contacts, 68%. That is not a marginal difference. That is the gap between 2 completely different physical trajectories. Your test right now. Stand in the middle of the room away from furniture. Lower yourself to the floor and sit cross-legged. Then stand back up. Count every time any part of your hand or arm touches the floor, a wall, or any surface for support. 0 contacts means you are aging backwards. Every contact is information about where your body's physical age actually is. Pauline started a daily floor transition practice. Every morning she lowered to the floor and stood back up, first using one hand, then reducing to one fingertip, then no contact at all. It took 11 weeks. 11 weeks of 10 minutes every morning. At her follow-up appointment, she walked to the middle of my examination room, lowered to cross-legged, sat for a full 5 seconds, and rose back to standing without touching anything. She looked at me and said, "Doctor, I feel 50 again." "You are not 50, I told her. You are 71 and you are aging backwards. That is better. Ability number 2. You can hold a dead hang from a bar or door frame for 20 seconds. This one surprises people every time because it sounds like something for a gym. It is not. A dead hang, gripping a fixed overhead surface and letting your body weight hang freely, is one of the most accurate assessments of grip endurance, shoulder decompression, and spinal traction capacity in the aging body. After 70, the spinal discs lose hydration. The shoulder joints compress from years of poor posture and accumulated muscle shortening. The grip strength that was once taken for granted fades. These 3 things together, spine compression, shoulder compression, grip loss, combine to create the stooped, shortened, restricted posture that most people associate with old age. The dead hang addresses all 3 in a single held position. And the ability to maintain it for 20 seconds tells me whether that compression process is being actively countered or allowed to continue unchecked. Raymond was 70. He came in for back pain that had been building for years. He stood about an inch shorter than his driver's license said he was. That inch was not a clerical error. His spine had compressed. He had accepted the back pain as an unavoidable feature of getting older. I asked him to hang from the door frame of my examination room for as long as he could. He grabbed the frame and lasted 9 seconds before his grip gave out. "Raymond, when did you last hang from anything?" He thought about it. Maybe 30 years. His grip endurance and his shoulder decompression capacity had not been asked for anything in 3 decades. They had answered accordingly. A study from Kiel University assessed grip endurance and overhead traction capacity in 2,700 adults aged 68 to 82 across 9 years. Those who could sustain a 20-second dead hang or equivalent grip hold had 5 times lower rates of vertebral compression, 4 times lower rates of shoulder impingement, and significantly better spinal height preservation over the study period. 5 times lower vertebral compression. From a position most people have not attempted since they were young enough to climb trees. Your test right now. Find a sturdy door frame, a pull-up bar, or any fixed overhead surface you can grip safely. Grip it. Hang. Count to 20. Do not pull yourself up. Simply hang and let gravity do the decompression work. How far did you get? Did your grip fail before your shoulders or spine asked for relief? That failure point is the measurement. Raymond started with 10-second hangs twice a day, gripping a door frame in his kitchen while his coffee brewed. He added grip strengthening with a tennis ball 3 minutes per morning. 8 weeks later, he held 22 seconds. His back pain had reduced by 60% by week 6. He came back to my office and stood straight next to the wall. He was 3/4 of an inch taller than his first visit. Not a coincidence. His spine had decompressed. He told me, "Doctor, I feel taller." "You are taller," I told him. "That is what aging backwards looks like." Ability number 3. You can walk briskly for 15 minutes, stop, and then immediately begin a conversation without needing to catch your breath. Most people test their fitness by whether they can complete a walk. That is the wrong question. The right question is, what happens the moment the walk stops? The speed and completeness of your respiratory recovery, the rate at which your breathing returns to conversational level after moderate exertion, is one of the clearest indicators of cardiovascular and pulmonary reserve in the aging body. Reserve capacity. Not what your body can do when it is pushed, what it has left over when the pushing stops. After 70, the lungs lose elasticity. The diaphragm weakens. The cardiovascular system becomes less efficient at cycling blood through the pulmonary loop. These changes reduce the reserve that allows rapid recovery. The person with high respiratory reserve finishes a brisk walk and continues talking without a pause. The person with declining reserve finishes the same walk and needs 30 seconds, a minute, sometimes longer, before they can speak normally. Most people accept that pause as normal. It is not normal. It is a signal. Norma was 73. She walked every morning, 30 minutes, same route, same pace, proud of the habit, and rightly so. She came to see me for fatigue that persisted even on days she had done nothing at all. I asked her to walk briskly with me down the hallway and back 3 times, about 4 minutes total, then immediately answer a series of questions as if we were in a normal conversation. She needed 40 seconds before her answers came out without her breathing interrupting them. "Norma, do people ever wait for you to catch your breath after a walk?" She looked at me. "My husband always waits at the door when I come back. I thought he was just being polite." He was being polite. But he was also watching a physiological signal his wife's body was sending him every single morning without either of them knowing what it meant. A study from Utrecht University followed 3,200 adults aged 70 to 84 for 8 years. Those with rapid respiratory recovery, defined as returning to conversational breathing within 15 seconds of stopping moderate exertion, had 4 times lower rates of cardiac events and 3 times lower rates of respiratory hospitalization over the study period compared to those whose recovery exceeded 45 seconds. 4 times lower cardiac event rate. From the 15 seconds immediately after the walk ends, not the walk itself. Your body's ability to recover is a more honest measurement than its ability to go. Here is your test right now. Walk briskly for 15 minutes. Stop completely. Start talking to someone. Read aloud from your phone, or count out loud from 100 backward. How many seconds before your voice is steady and your breathing is no longer interrupting your words? Under 15 seconds is the aging backwards threshold. Over 45 seconds is the signal that demands attention. Norma started interval breathing work. 2 minutes of brisk walking followed by 30 seconds of slow, deliberate exhale extended breathing, repeated 6 times per session. She also practiced diaphragmatic strengthening exercises lying flat each morning, 5 minutes of controlled breathing with resistance. 10 weeks later, she finished her morning walk and spoke to me in a full sentence immediately without a pause. She looked surprised at herself. I told her, "That is your lungs remembering what they are supposed to do." Now here is where most people stop. 3 abilities in, they feel like they have what they need. They do not. The first 3 abilities measure what your body can do under controlled, predictable conditions when you are prepared and paying attention. The final 2 abilities measure something harder to build and more critical to preserve. They measure whether your body's deeper systems, the ones that operate completely below your awareness every second of every day, are aging forward or aging backwards. And the 4th ability is the one I have seen predict the next 10 years of a patient's physical life more accurately than almost any other single test I have ever administered. Ability number 4. You can close your eyes, stand on one leg, and touch your nose accurately with the opposite hand 3 times in a row. This test combines 3 neurological systems in one sequence. Proprioception, your body's internal GPS. Vestibular function, your inner ear's balance management. And cerebellar coordination, your brain's ability to execute precise movement while simultaneously maintaining balance. When all 3 are intact and communicating well, this task is simple. When any one of them is declining, the combined test exposes it immediately and specifically in a way that no single system test can. Most balance tests check one system at a time. Stand on one leg, walk a line, touch your finger to your nose. But daily life does not challenge systems one at a time. Daily life challenges all of them simultaneously. When you step off a curb while turning to speak to someone, all 3 systems fire together. When you reach for something on a high shelf while standing on a slightly uneven surface, all 3 fire together. The moment any one of them starts lagging, your body compensates by shifting load to the other 2. That compensation works for a while, then it fails. And the failure, when it comes without warning. Vivian was 74. She came to me after a fall in her garden that she described as coming from nowhere. I was just standing there reaching for the hose and I was on the ground. I did not stumble. I did not trip. I simply fell. I asked Vivian to close her eyes, stand on her left leg, and touch her nose with her right index finger 3 times. First touch landed correctly. Second touch missed by 2 inches. Third, she had to put her foot down to avoid falling. Her cerebellar coordination and proprioception were splitting under combined demand. Each worked reasonably in isolation. Together, they were losing synchronization. That desynchronization was the reason she fell reaching for a garden hose while standing still. A study from Karolinska Institute tested combined neurological coordination in 2,900 adults over age 70 across 7 years. Those who failed the combined eyes-closed balance and target touch test at baseline had 6 times the rate of unexplained falls, defined as falls without clear mechanical cause, compared to those who passed. 6 times, not falls from tripping or slipping. Falls from the internal coordination system quietly losing synchronization without the person feeling any different at all. Your test right now. Stand near a wall for safety. Close your eyes. Lift your right foot slightly off the ground. Reach with your left index finger and touch your nose. Do it 3 times. Then switch legs and hands. On each attempt, note whether the touch lands precisely on the first try or wanders. Note whether you sway between touches. Note how your body feels managing balance and directed movement simultaneously. That sensation is data. Vivian started a daily neurological coordination circuit. Eyes closed single-leg balance for 30 seconds on each side every morning. Slow, deliberate nose touches with eyes closed while standing on one foot, increasing to 5 per side. Tandem walking with simultaneous finger-counting exercises. 6 weeks later, Vivian stood on her left leg with eyes closed, touched her nose 3 consecutive times without deviation, and did not take her foot down once. She told me at her follow-up, "Doctor, I went back into the garden. I reached for the same hose. Nothing happened. I just reached and grabbed it." That is what neurological synchronization feels like when it is working. Invisible. Effortless. Exactly the way it is supposed to feel. Ability number 5. And this is the one that most completely separates the people who are aging backwards from everyone else. You can sprint or move at maximum speed for 10 full seconds. Not jog, not walk fast. Move at the fastest pace your body can currently produce for 10 seconds. This does not mean running like an athlete. It means generating maximum effort for 10 seconds, whatever maximum currently means for your specific body. The ability to produce a burst of maximum effort movement requires fast twitch muscle fibers, the type 2 muscle tissue that is responsible for power, speed, and explosive force. After 70, fast twitch fibers deteriorate at twice the rate of slow twitch fibers. They are the first to go and the last thing most people ever try to preserve, because nobody ever asks them to sprint. They walk, they jog, they move at a steady, comfortable pace, and the fast twitch fibers, never called upon, quietly disappear. Here is why this matters at the deepest level. Fast twitch fibers are not just for speed. They are the fibers your body recruits when you stumble and need to catch yourself in a fraction of a second. When you start to fall and your body needs to throw a foot out fast enough to prevent the impact. When you slip and need a burst of muscular force to save yourself before gravity wins. The person who can still sprint for 10 seconds has a body that can still generate that emergency burst. The person who has not sprinted in 10 years has lost it. And they do not know they have lost it until the stumble comes and the foot does not move fast enough. Arthur was 71, still playing golf twice a week, considered himself physically active and fit. He came to me after a near fall on a wet patio that had shaken him badly. He said, "Doctor, I used to be able to react fast enough to catch myself. This time I couldn't. My body just didn't respond. I asked Arthur to move at maximum speed down the hallway for 10 seconds. He went faster than a normal walk, but nowhere near what his body once had. His top speed was barely 60% of what a healthy 71-year-old should be able to generate. Not because he was weak in the conventional sense, because he had not asked his type 2 fibers to fire at maximum effort in years. They had not atrophied completely, but they had gone quiet, and quiet muscles do not respond in emergencies." A study from Maastricht University tested explosive speed capacity in 2,400 adults aged 70 to 83 across 8 years. Those who maintained the ability to generate maximum effort movement for 10 seconds or more had 4 times lower rates of fall-related injury and were significantly more likely to remain fully independent at the end of the study period compared to those who had lost explosive capacity entirely. 4 times lower fall injury. Not from strength training, from preserving the specific type of muscle that catches you when your body starts to fall. Your test, right now, find a safe flat surface, ideally outdoors or in a long hallway. Move at your absolute maximum pace for 10 seconds. Not a jog. Maximum effort, whatever that currently means for your body. Notice whether you actually accelerate from your starting pace or whether your fastest is only slightly faster than your comfortable walk. That gap, or the absence of it, tells you exactly what your fast twitch system has left. Arthur started a weekly power training protocol. 10-second maximum effort walks on flat ground 3 times per week. Stepping up onto a low step as explosively as he could manage, 10 repetitions, twice a week. Resistance band exercises emphasizing explosive concentric movement rather than slow controlled repetitions. 8 weeks later, Arthur moved down my hallway at a pace I genuinely had not expected. He stopped at the end, breathing hard, and turned around. He said, "Doctor, I caught myself on the patio steps yesterday. Just reached out and grabbed the railing before I even thought about it. My body just moved. That is exactly what is supposed to happen. Not a decision, a reflex. A body that still has fast twitch capacity available does not need to decide to catch itself. It just does." Dennis came back to see me 6 months after that first appointment. The man who had passed only 2 of the 5 tests and spent a long time looking at the floor. Dennis walked in differently from the first time, lighter in his step, more upright. He sat down across from me and said, "Doctor, my wife stopped worrying about me." He paused and then smiled. She started asking me what I am doing. I retested all 5 abilities. He passed 4 of them. The 5th, the dead hang, he held for 16 seconds. He needed 4 more. We worked on it together in the room. He hung from the door frame twice. At the end of the second hang, he was at 18 seconds. Close enough. He looked at me and said, "My father was in a wheelchair at 74. I am 72 and I just hung from your door frame." I told him what I tell every patient who reaches this point. That is not where the story ends. That is where it begins. Your body is not finished yet. It is waiting to be asked. Every one of these 5 abilities responds to consistent demand regardless of how long it has been since you last asked. The floor transition comes back. The dead hang strength returns. The respiratory reserve rebuilds. The neurological coordination resyncs. The fast twitch capacity reawakens. None of it requires a gym membership or expensive equipment or hours of your day. It requires honesty about where you are and 10 minutes every morning of the right kind of demand. Test yourself today against all 5. Write down honestly where you stand on each one. Pick the ability that needs the most work and give it 10 minutes every morning for 6 weeks without skipping. At the end of 6 weeks, test again. Your body will have answered, and the answer will be different from what it was when you started. The people who age backwards are not people with special genetics or unusual luck. They are people who refuse to accept the first answer their body gave them. They tested honestly. They found what was slipping. They worked on it with consistency, and their bodies answered back with more than they had expected. That is available to you right now, starting today.